Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Blue Abroad show. This is the first Blue Abroad show of 2022. So I thought I'd kick things off with Paul Sebastiani. Mate, what's going on?
Oh, it's a cracking day. It's a beautiful day in Melbourne, but the result didn't go our way on the weekend, unfortunately. But no, we're here to digress it all and go through it all, and hopefully we can add a little bit more solace to your Monday-itis, Tess.
I think so. Yes, you're spot on about the weather. It was a beautiful day for football yesterday.
Magnificent.
Yeah, and it was a very familiar feeling this morning. We were texting each other. Just the usual disappointment about what's happened, and we're going to touch on it.
Yeah, like a strange one, isn't it? Like it's just you roll your eyes and you can only laugh, can't you?
It is. I just don't know what it's going to be like when we've got nothing to complain about.
Jesus. Well, I said to you this morning as well that, like yesterday, the drive back home, like I think, oh, not this again. Like, there's nothing worse than the drive back home after a loss as well.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. We're going to touch on it. Let's roll a little intro. I haven't played it for a while, and then we'll get cracking.
Hey, I seen it all before. I heard chat that they all adore. 1 week looking like they all aboard. Next day, they don't even walk the walk. I've been here since the bus down Aqua, cutting through Asda, all black master. Now I'm too grown for acting gaffer, trying to pay off my Madre's gaff cuz. Took the whites and there's a rotty that's peak. Add the spice to calamari, that's me. My advice off the order I seen. Christ alone, he don't promise you. Don't say that. You know that man don't pay that.
Alrighty. Before we do get started, why don't you give a rundown on how your off season's going, just in general?
My off season is in personally, or
we have had a New Year's celebration. How was that? What'd you get up to?
Yeah. Well, the get together we had was fantastic. Sort of meeting all the new faces, and not new faces, meeting faces we've seen for over a year and a half, 2 years, and it's nice to actually meet people in person. Not sure what we're going to make of it in the next sort of month or two, but. It's been good fun celebrating Christmas and New Year's with family and close friends. Hopefully it's a better one than last year on both fronts, footy and just socially as well. It's been a bit of a long haul for a lot of people, but work's good, work's fun. Bet Deluxe all happening. I'm heading off to the Gold Coast on Friday morning. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all goes well, and I can get up there without any issues. It doesn't look like there's going to be too much going on with regards to travel restrictions or anything. So up there for the races, and I'll be keeping a keen eye on the girls because they're actually travelling up to Maroochydore to play last year's premiers. So good luck.
Absolutely, that'll be shown here on the channel as well. We'll be doing a watch along. Pommy will be I'll be there as well, but. Looking forward to that. New Year's. I mean, I went to let them eat COVID. That's that's what I'm calling it. It was a super spreader event.
Yeah.
And look, if you're gonna get COVID, make sure you get it at a music festival. That's my rule.
Yeah. Do it while
make sure you're out there having fun. Yeah,
exactly. It fested away down there at Let Them Eat. Ate away at a few people. From what I heard.
I mean, it was great. It was out in the sun, very much hydrated, lots of fun, lots of good vibes.
Yep.
And I missed it. I missed being out and about, seeing thousands of people around, and but there's definitely a refreshed juice about me now. I think especially now, like the girls have played their first game, the boys back at training, photos. You know what I was like today? You saw me with my Charlie Curnow post today. Just.
Far out, mate. It just doesn't end, does it?
No. I'd like to turn it off. But I mean, when Charlie's looking like that, I mean, goodness me.
Oh, what are you supposed to do, mate? Like the sun's out, footies are being kicked about. Despite what's going on outside of football, like I think everyone's just chomping at the bit to be able to sort of get back. New coach, new CEO, new president. Was much the same result. On the women's front, unfortunately, we didn't really see too much of a change there. But look, I mean, it's sun's out, guns out. There's, we got to smile, mate. We've got to smile.
No, exactly right. It's I'm looking forward to.
Catch worse at music festivals, mate. I'll give you the tip.
Absolutely. I mean, it put me out of action for, what was it, 9 days, 10 days, but worth it. Absolutely worth it. All right. Well, listen, let's begin. Let's begin with a bit of a review. So this is the round 1 review against the Pies. It was what was it? It was, well, you were there. So why don't you tell us how you saw the day?
Yeah, I think the big things that, what I've written down here, I mean, the thing that came out of the game for me was just class and composure with ball in hand. I think the disposal efficiency was like 53% to 65 in their favour, in the Pies' favour. We got belted in uncontested football. Our transition from defence to attack was, I mean, what do you say? I mean, what do you say? I mean, they obviously want to play a certain way, but when it's not being executed, I mean, it's clearly not. That transition football's not working for us. And again, the same thing as last year. We win the hit-outs and our midfield can't get on top. We get first crack of the ball, and I just, you know, what do you say? What do you say? I mean, it's just the same stuff week in, week out. I mean, losing Egan didn't help, given that, you know, Collingwood's midfield is arguably one of the best in the league. So we were down 1 rotation there, but it's no excuse. Her going down wasn't the reason we lost. I think we played into their hands going forward of centre, and just, I mean, how many, like, Taylor Harris is not there anymore, and the persistence to go long and high, it made, like Mars said, like it's a burden to lower your eyes. But what I don't understand was, and I went with a close mate of mine who's actually never been to an AFLW game, and I said, look, I go, there's a couple of tickets. I go, if you want to come along. He goes, yeah. He goes, mate. He goes, I'll come. He goes, I'll just something. He goes, the footy's back. He goes, there's something to watch. You come along, and he just turned to me and he goes, mate, he goes, who's your coach? I said, oh, Daniel Harford. He goes, I go, yeah. Anyway, he's a mad Brisbane supporter, right?
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, mate, why? He goes, your forward line's not tall. Like, if you're going to kick the ball long and high and it's going to become a contested situation, wouldn't you just rather go low and hard inside 50? And it's going to become a contested situation anyway if they don't mark it, but you're more of a chance to mark it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, the one thing about our women's team I can never really question is that endeavour.
Oh no, yeah.
I hate that I'm bringing it up because it should be a given. We shouldn't be giving extra points for the endeavour. They do have a crack, and especially in that third quarter when Collingwood started getting on top and really, you know, running away, we didn't drop our heads. But I don't know what they're trying to do. And
no, neither do I. I don't know. I don't know either.
Like, it's run and gun. It's too quick. And then Harford even spoke about it after the game. We're trying to move. At halftime, he's like, we're just getting a little bit too caught up in the adrenaline. But that's what you coach for. How long is their off season? I just found it really. I found it really frustrating that it was really the same thing as what happened last year.
Yeah.
Minus giving them a 5-goal head start.
Yeah.
And ultimately we cost ourselves, and we spoke all preseason on the AFLW show about how we've lost 5 senior players from the starting team. And, you know, people like O'Day are going to have to step up, Harrington, and you know, the senior players that are already there. And it was the senior players that I thought that really let us down in at critical stages.
I mean, what was O'Day doing? Like, just brain fade galore.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say? It's inexcusable, mate. Whether or not you're a full-time or semi-professional athlete or not, that's just like, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. That's the thing. She should know better. She is better.
Oh, mate. Well, look. I mean, she's come here. What did we give? We gave away a first-round pick for her, and I mean, has she really? I don't know if she's developing and we don't see that, but I mean, what's she really given? You know, she barely won football yesterday as well.
Yeah, I find a lot of our midfielders, to be honest, to be a bit ruggedy, tough and whatnot, but we just don't have the class.
No.
Yet. We seem to. Yeah. I found myself watching at stages, noticing we'd burst out of a stoppage when we would, you know, control the hit out that we would be given from Moody, who we'll touch on in a moment. And then it was almost like, oh, look at this, she's doing great. And then it would just be a blaze away kick. And it's almost like, oh my God, never mind. It's just, it was just a bit of that. But look, it is one game. You don't want to get too carried away. But I was a little worried about the inexperience that was shown from the senior players. And then there's a few other things as well, like no idea what happened with Charlotte Wilson. Absolutely no clue. Like just a complete unknown. And we definitely missed her down back.
Yeah, definitely missed her down back. It'd be nice to know why she didn't play. But I think you know what, like I think even if she did play, I don't think the system that we played with that sort of team in place was going to win the game anyway, if that makes sense. I don't think she would have made an absolute difference, maybe a goal either way. But like just our inability to break the lines off half back and from full back too. And it was something that I mentioned on the AFLW show that the territory battle is going to be so important. And we just, because it's so hard for, especially at that level like AFLW, to go from full back all the way to your forward 50. It's just, it's nigh on impossible, really. It's, you know, and when we break down as well up the field, like it was just, we get it at full back. There's nothing, we'd just go long and high and there was a stoppage, Collingwood set up and you can't get out.
Yep.
And we weren't running down either.
Look, full credit to Collingwood. That was solid. They were just professional and they were mature and they just withstood our best and just did enough. I didn't think they were outstanding offensively. I think they'll even look at that and think that they've got some improvement as well. Yeah. Shout out to Bree Davey as well, who has ruptured her ACL and MCL. So that didn't look good live and it didn't hasn't come up good in the diagnosis as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny league because one game is worth so much. You got to go to Brisbane, you got to play in Maroochydore. All of a sudden, we're back where we were last year. The pressure, 0-2, and you know, we spoke about it with Charlotte here on the channel. She said, you know, we can't let that affect us. We can't let the record affect us. They've got to try and stay in the moment. So look, it can be rectified. Definitely want to see someone like a Maddie Gurin come back in. I'm not sure how far off Mimi Hill is, but she's important. And you touched on Grace Egan. Do we know what happened to her in the end?
Yeah, she's got broken ribs and a punctured lung, so it's pretty serious. Yeah, you'd think she'd miss at least a month, probably the majority of the season. Yeah, that's not great.
She was looking solid too, because she's got that class at centre stoppage as well.
Yeah, look, I just think a lot of our midfielders, they're all sort of the same, like build and same. Like you've got Prasparkas, Egan, McAvoy, O'Day, and a few others that sort of run through. But they're all like, we got killed on the spread and by like those handball chains. And like you look at, I've got like uncontested possession, 65 to 134.
Wow,
that's alarm bells. That's fitness. That's positioning. That's like, and we just didn't look fit. Like,
I mean,
it's such a shitty way of looking at it, but we just didn't look like we could cover the ground.
It was funny because we wanted to run and gun, but at the same time, I agree. Like they're not. I don't know. Maybe it's too early to say they're not fit enough, but I thought we were slow, and if you're slow, it's okay because you can use the ball well, but didn't do that, and it just didn't look good. And I just, you know, save for Moody, who just blew me away. She was unbelievable the way she played. Yeah, well, maybe Prasparkas as well, but apart from that, I mean, okay. Abby McKay, was good to see her play well and kick a goal and all of that, but I mean, we can't get caught up in looking at individuals here, and you know.
I mean, that's what poor football clubs do. Really, it's the whole, we lost. Well, how are we going to make the fans and members, get back on side? Well, it might just be that little, the big hits of this week, and but then you look at the scoreboard and you think, well, what does it really mean? I mean, I'd rather see us have, one big hit, and a whole team play well rather than individuals perform. I think we only had 4 players in double-figure possession, so we couldn't even get our hands on the football. And then I looked at Collingwood's AFLW social pages, and they've renamed they've got the audacity to go and call the bloody legend stand thing the Geordie Allen pocket. You kidding me or what?
Well, this is the third straight year, I believe, that they've come to Icon Park and beaten us. I believe that's right.
That's where the club's at.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Mate, we have, and I said, like the Ian Prendergast put out this tweet today. Like they said, like anyone with sort of like a real understanding of AFLW, like where are we going wrong? And you summed it up perfectly. You said, mate, we're 6 years into a new competition and we're rebuilding already.
Yeah. Mate, we're a 6-year-old club and we're already going through a rebuild. We've got kids playing already, and I mean, look, I've got no issue with the kids playing, but this should be year 6 of the group that we drafted, and we've got 5 of them, I think, on the list from the beginning. And I understand it. It's a situation where it's very fluid. Players will come and go, but there's been a lot swept under the carpet. We lost a lot of our senior players, and there was a lot of finger pointing, on the radio with Taylor Harris, but we lost, Katie Loynes as well. Yeah. And I just think, look, where's the accountability for that? What happened? And let's be honest, we talk about Half. Like, yeah, he's a great media performer. He speaks really well. I think the difference between him and David Teague is that Half really can speak well in the media. David Teague couldn't do it. But what's going on? It keeps breaking down season after season.
It's a strange one too. Like I looked back at it and I thought to myself, like how, like all these other teams are playing for Collingwood and all, like they're all playing for flags, and we're already like that off season was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
When you go back and look at it, and there's a lot of, I mean, the murmurings and the rumors and all that sort of stuff that's being branded about at the moment is that, the culture's horrible. Certain coaches lost the players. I mean, you hear that all the time, whatever that means. Take that with a grain of salt. But certain players leaving and saying, that the club was a bit toxic and, they've gone to another club and, they've flourished really, which is really, it's disheartening to hear. But I think we are still the byproduct, or that team is still the byproduct of admin gone by before, and it's still it's still going to take a little bit of time for Sayers and all those sort of guys to come in and try to improve it. But still, it's just no excuse for what happened out on the field yesterday. Really, like, I mean, what do you say? Like, and the way the club tried to spin, like the positive, like, oh, we're getting all these picks in, these players are left, but look what we're getting in. Like, it just we actually lost out on draft points on a trade. And I think if I remember correctly, and Pommy can correct me on this, the club said, oh, we've won the trade. And we actually, yeah. You remember that? Yeah.
I remember the post. I remember it.
Like, like talk about pulling the wool over your eyes. That's, it's a strange one, isn't it, at the moment? I just don't know. We say, like, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to execute when they go out onto the field?
Yeah, we play with a bit of it. We play with adrenaline, that's for sure, but it runs out. And then you've got to have a structure.
Yeah, well, I think as well, like, I don't think, and again, Pommy and I were chatting about this today, like, I don't think it's not a controlled aggression. Like, it's an aggression based on emotion. And that, as you said, that wears out after a certain period of time, because the structures of the game are set in, teams set up, they get a feel for the opposition, and then, that sort of wears out, and it might come back, but you still got to be, I think you need that controlled aggression, whereas, like, I want to win the football and you're not going to get it, rather than I'm going to give away stupid 50-meter penalties and I'm going to clip someone over the head or something like that, So, and I think what really annoyed me as well is that we let Collingwood's backline really win that aerial ball as well. And again, like, my mate turned to me, he goes, mate, that, like Jordan Allen, like, if a defender is playing as a spare and just coming back, mate, bang. So they don't come back with the flight, and they double think when, they have to think twice before going back with the flight.
Yep. So, yeah, much of the same. The frustration, the similar feeling of the frustration was back. And look, we hope that they can put in a good performance. I will say this. I watched 4 games in the round, and I overall definitely can tell that there's a level of improvement there, which is exciting to see. Yeah. Unfortunately, I just didn't see our club show that same improvement.
Yeah, no. And I think a worrying sign as well is that a lot of our sort of picks that we got through the club during the off-season did not really, I think Annie Lee might have only had like 3 or 4 disposals, which is not, look, it's not ideal, is it? You're giving away veterans of the club people who have been a staple at the club for X amount of years, the Hoskings, the Harrises, all those types of players, and then getting in younger girls who just don't really, and especially because the season's so short, you need to have an immediate impact.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, look, at the end of the day, between Vesio, Stevens, and G, no goals.
Not good enough.
We're not winning.
No, they couldn't get any separation from their opponents, like just running up to the contest and then not getting back fast enough or playing too quickly. And, I mean, like, when's it, I know we always say, like, when's it going to become about winning, mate? I know it should be, but, like, again, mate, we solve every social issue known to man, but it's
just want to see wins. Just want to see wins. Just want to enjoy the footy. It is what it is. It is what it is, and we hope that round 2 is a better experience.
Yes, it has to be.
Yes, it must be. It must be. The men, we'll touch on the men.
Yes.
As I said, training day 1 of 2022. The photos are out. Nothing too crazy. I got excited about Charlie Curnow, but I've started doing the player preview series for those who haven't watched. We've done up to Zach
Cerra.
Williams, and I thought I'd go through some of them tonight with you, Paul, and get some of your thoughts on some of these players and you guys in the audience as well, because I've done a few polls on Instagram and I've done a few bits and pieces here and there, but I haven't really had the discussion here on YouTube live. So we'll go through a couple of them. Pommy and I did a long video on Jack Silvani because he's just feel like he finished the season really strongly. And I don't know about you, I have this theory about breakout players. You generally see them show something in that last 5 to 6 weeks. Like I remember Josh Dunkley was a prime example of that. I think even Aaron Hall did it as well. What is it about Jack Silvani for you, and where does he play for you?
I think he has to play that sort of high half forward role. But I do think he is building well enough to become potentially a big-bodied midfielder for certain periods of time. I know when Josh Fraser was at the club, he was adamant that Jack would spend more time in the midfield as his career progressed. And I think we are seeing that because I think he started to win a little bit more of the ball towards the back end of last season, which was a real positive. And I think that's the hardest thing to do in that high half forward role as well. And you know what you're going to get from him. He'll hit up at the ball all day. That's what you need in that role. That presentation is tall enough to be able to take a grab over his head. And if he can start to hit the scoreboard a little bit more and get involved with assists and get involved in goal scoring chains, that's going to be a big feather in his cap coming into this season. And he's another one, mate. You can't knock his endeavour. I mean, obviously that's, we don't cheer him because they're going to try, but that's, you know what you're going to get from him. And you need players like that in your team, regardless of if it's heart and soul. I think guys like that are going to be a focal point to the way we link from half back to half forward and in the middle of the ground as well. So I'd be keeping an eye on him potentially shifting into the middle for bits and pieces of this season coming.
I want to see it more. I mean, I think he's the type of player look, it's going to happen. They're going to get scored on. We know it's been happening for the last few years, these 5-goal swings. I'm hoping that they're coming to an end soon. But I think he's the type of player that, they kick 2 in a row, they kick 3 in a row. You can put Jack anywhere. And every time he goes somewhere, pressure comes with him. He just adds something. And there's something about everywhere he goes, he adds a layer of pressure for the opposition. So I would definitely want to see him play a few more minutes in the midfield this year. But you just know what he's like. He'll play anywhere. He literally will play anywhere. And he's got that attitude about him.
Yeah. And all you ask is for your blokes like that to go out there and lay a couple of tackles and show a bit of intensity at the contest. And, you can't forget as well, he was a pick, I think he was like pick 56 as well. So, if you take away, you can't take away the Silvani factor, obviously that's there. But if you look at him just from a pure football point of view, what we actually gave up compared to what we're actually getting at the moment. Don't forget too, he had the shoulder at the start of the year last season in the Richmond game when he went to that rundown tackle and he did his shoulder. And look, I think the way he finished the year, you want to finish the year with momentum and hopefully, fingers crossed, through this preseason, he can continue to build and we don't have any niggles or any issues like that. So I think there's always been little niggling issues with him, whether it's a shoulder or he had the knee as well, remember? So clean bill of health for Jack. I'm expecting good things from him come this year.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Ari says he could be in the ball ups and throw-ins that are on the wing half forward, potentially allowing a midfielder to drop deep behind the ball for extra protection, perhaps. Now, Ari has started writing the previews as well, so they'll be on the website.
Yes.
Actually, the first 5 of them are up on the website already. So good to have Ari back doing his thing. And then I also will put the link in the comments if anyone wants to come and have a chat and join us on these discussions about the players. And the next one is Paddy Dow. Now, Pom made a very interesting point about Paddy Dow in that he said, look, he's been in the system now. This is year number 5.
Yep.
We just brought Cerra in.
Yep.
Because we needed some more midfield depth.
Yep.
Hewitt's going to be in there, you'd think, as well. How many more years until Paddy? Like, how many more years do you keep the faith with Paddy Dow that he can become that player? Not a star, just it doesn't have to be a superstar, but somewhat a star.
Yeah. A contributor to the 22 that's actually going to have an impact on the game. I think we are. I think as midfielders, and as fans, we're so blinkered by, he's got to have 30 possessions. He's got to have 30 possessions. Like, it's not. No. Like, if you look back to that Fremantle game that he played, I think he only had about maybe 22 possessions in the game, but massive impact. That's the type of player he's going to be. I don't think he's ever going to be a bloke that's going to get it 30, 35 times. If he does, great. Brilliant.
Yeah, if he does,
fantastic. But I don't think you can ever have too many midfielders, especially of that ilk. I think it's an area we just lack, really. And, I think Bateson said it really well. Dow and Cerra as interchangeable wingers, probably not interchangeable wingers, but interchangeable midfielders, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. Give Cerra the chop out, give Dow the chop out. The more depth you build in that midfield, the more impact certain players can have. They don't have to play there for prolonged periods of time. You can... you've got Cerra in there now, you've got Hewitt as well, and then hopefully that in turn leads to that incremental improvement from those younger kids too. But I think for him, I think the stamina and the fitness is the big thing for him, getting from contest to contest as well. Because I think if you actually look at his minutes played, I think from memory, he doesn't actually play a lot of minutes. Like, it might only be like 65 to 70% of game time, which is, because people say, oh, fuck, where's Dow? He's gone missing. But he actually doesn't play high game time compared to, I think, our other midfielders. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember seeing that stat in particular last season. But it's a big year for him. He needs to lift on what he's done, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at the top teams, let's be honest, the midfield of these top teams, let's just say the top 8, you really need to have 4 to 5 in that midfield who are really contributing. You can't have it. You can't be doing a one-man show. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and Mars Rocco and I sat down last week and we caught up and we were actually chatting about this sort of very predicament with the club. It's like, well, I think you can't say we have not improved personnel-wise in the midfield. Like Cerra and SPS, like I know Pommy and I were going crazy saying, why are we trading SPS there? Their stats and stuff, it's all sort of very similar. But, then you add someone like Hewitt in as well, and you get that maybe 5% increase from a guy like Hewitt as well. So, look, and we don't know. Maybe Brodie Kemp can start to roll in there too. So, and we don't know what Voss is going to have installed from a tactical perspective in the midfield as well. So maybe you get a little bit more improvement in that regard too. So, look, Dowie, again, he's got a lift definitely compared to what we've given up for him. I mean, he's a first round pick.
It's a serious maturation needed. Yeah. I mean, it's across the board. There's no more of these, they're little boys. Like, they've just got to become the men that they are going to become.
Yeah, spot on. I personally, I'm erring on the side of he will become a very good player rather than not. I think I've seen enough.
Yep. All right. Well, Ari's joined us, so let's bring him
Ari, in. Yes. Young man.
How are we going, lads?
Very well, yourself.
Look at this, mate. Got the microphone and everything, mate.
Mate, upgrades.
I love
quickly on Dow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wrote this in the preview. I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
Is it his last chance? Is it his last year to impress?
When you say last chance, do you mean as in if it doesn't work out this year, trade him, or do you mean
Yeah.
last chance for him to become a star midfielder for us?
Well, we've been saying for ages that we can't have passengers anymore, right? So he kind of needs to find a place. He needs to like find a way to add to the team and like really influence each game that he plays. So is it his last chance? Like say by round 17, 18, he's played 6-7 games and he hasn't done too great. Is it he's gone?
Oh no, I don't think so, because I think and this is me sort of crystal balling. I think he's been played completely out of position in the like. Because remember when T came in, like he was playing Dow off half forward. And we recruited him as a genuine midfielder. Man. Like it boggles the mind. As soon as he came in, it sort of just stagnated, didn't it? You know, what perplexed me with Dow was, remember there were all these stats branded about in his first and second year. He spent the most amount of centre bounces of any bloody kid that's ever played the game. Blah 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 blah. And then he's playing at half forward. I mean, what does that do for your development? What does that do for your confidence? You know, you sold up the river, you know, in your draft year saying, oh, you're going to be a midfielder. And you come in, oh, here you go, play half forward. It just didn't make sense. So now that Voss has been a midfield coach at Port and was a midfielder as a player, I think we're going to see, I think he's going to have a little bit of faith in Dow. I think he's going to be one of those players where he just sort of tucks him under the arm and says, no, you're one of mine, mate. But he's got to prove himself too. It can't just be on the coaches. He's got to lift. Simple as that.
He does. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him become more of a tackling machine. I'd love to see it. I have a funny feeling. I mean, I have a funny feeling with Cerra in there. I don't know if this isn't even a thing for him and Lockie O'Brien as well. Like they're in the same draft. They played against each other all throughout their juniors. You see how Cerra's development's gone. Surely it's got to do something for motivating him.
Yeah,
what do you reckon, Ari? What's your take?
Well, I think I was comparing him to O'Brien a lot in what I was writing, and because it's a natural comparison. And I think he's a little bit ahead of O'Brien in terms of like he played more last year and he was a little bit better when he played last year, more consistently. Mm-hmm. But he needs to, because he's that impact player, because like you said, he has these like periods of time where he's unplayable and then he disappears a little bit. What do you reckon needs to change for him? Does he need to become more impactful in those spurts, or does he need to be like have a longer period of time where he's impactful?
I don't like the notion. I think we have too many of these players that we label as burst players or impact players. There's too many of them that have 5 minutes of wonderful moments and then sort of quote unquote go missing. I think it's just more of he's been a student of the game for how many years now? And the longer he's in the AFL, the quicker he'll get to a situation where there will be players younger than him. And I'm hoping there's a tipping point coming. If it's got to be this season. If not this season, maybe it's next season. But a tipping point where he becomes, you know, a little bit more of a senior player in the league and has a bit more experience. And then I think we saw it a little bit in 2021 where he started thinking his way through traffic. And I think the Freo game was the first time we really saw it for a while. But he suddenly knew what to do rather than just get the ball in his boot and sort of panic. And I think that's been the criticism of him. Now, whether that's him, whether that's the coaching group, I'm not sure. One thing I'm pretty sure of is that Michael Voss will who else are you going to learn off to be a good midfielder than Michael Voss? If Vossi can't help him in that regard, then it's just not going to happen. So to answer your question, I've really taken a long time to answer it, Ari, but I don't think it's a make or break year in terms of giving up on him and whatnot. But I do think we're really edging close to that situation.
Yeah. So like playing a little bit of a pessimist here, is there any scenario where he gets delisted or traded at the end of the year?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't know. I think especially with COVID now, you've got to have deep lists. 2, 3, 4 players could be, withdrawn. At the drop of a hat. So I don't know. Traded. Well, if he's not going to make it this year, what's his trade value?
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing too. Look, I think it's a situation now with him as unless he completely falls off a cliff, which I don't think will happen under a new coach, a new regime, especially with someone of the midfield nous of Bossy. I'd be shocked if they did let him go. But again, as you said, it's got to be up to him too. Like he's got to take the onus of improving his fitness and getting from contest to contest and having more of an influence on the game and having his coaches trust him to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Does he play round one?
Yes.
Yeah. I think he gets a crack at it early on. I think so. I think he'll be. Yeah. I think he'll be there round one.
Where do you think he ranks in terms of the midfield? So, assuming Walsh, Cripps, Cerra, your three that start the majority, is he where does he rank? Because I think he's below Hewitt. I know we haven't seen a lot of Hewitt as a Carlton player, but I just think Hewitt's that difference maker in terms of he's our only really defensive-minded midfielder. And I mean, if they're playing Zach Williams as a midfielder in spurts, I think he ranks lower than him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do you think how often do you reckon he'll get proper midfield minutes?
I think he will because we just don't have enough. I mean, as I said, you've got to be able to win flags, you need to have a stacked midfield, and we don't have it at the moment. So that's why I think he's going to be getting games week in, week out as well, because we haven't had that midfield depth for God knows how long, really, probably since the Judd Murphy Gibbs days, really, and even then it was still a little bit thin around the edges too. So I think if he's the 7th, 8th, or 9th, I think that's what we need. That's what we don't have. Yeah. We don't have that 6, 7, 8, 9th guy who can rotate and go through in there and have a massive impact on the game when his legs are fresh.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're ranking 6 midfielders that you pick every week or 7, I think he's probably in that 5th to 7th range. Yeah. That's kind of where he sits right now. Because I'm with you, Ari. I think Williams will play in the midfield. I think that's what we're going to try and do again. I mean, I don't know, but I think that's what's going to happen. And if that does happen, then that puts another peg down, because I think for the majority of the preseason so far, I mean, I myself have been saying, maybe it is Williams in the back line. And that's the beauty of it as well. You just don't know. What about his mate, Lockie? I mean, we'll touch on Jesse Motlop shortly, but we did touch on the 2017 draft. I think Lockie's probably more in a situation than Dow of, okay, you got one more crack at this. We need to see you turn it up and become. I mean, what does a good year look like for him? Is it similar to what Matt Kennedy did last year?
I would say so, but not so much possession based and getting his possession numbers right up. It's that, like you saw him, like that St Kilda game, like, mate, it's the way he used the ball going inside 50. This is what. It's only January and I'm already going crazy. I don't understand how you can have someone who has a kick like that and you can't utilize him. I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. How do you not get the best out of it? Yeah.
Tommy and I have been going nuts over this. Like, everyone thinks he needs to get 855 disposals a game. Mate, he can have it 15 times, but if he's hitting 5 targets inside forward 50 and setting up 3 or 4 goals every week, well, I mean, Langdon from Melbourne doesn't get it 25 or 30 times a week, and he's considered one of the best wingers in the league. And then you look at Camden McIntosh, who's in the same echelon, and then you compare his numbers and O'Brien's numbers, and they're almost identical, and everyone's up in arms, and they didn't have any faith in him. They had no faith in him. None.
Yeah, it's true.
I think he's in a little bit of a lucky spot because him and Cottrell are probably our only recognised wingers. And Cottrell, I don't think he's good enough unless he has like a really impressive preseason. I don't think, And the way O'Brien, like I said this to a couple of people after the St Kilda game, I was like, Lockie O'Brien is one of 2, maybe 3 players who I trust hitting a target inside 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's not playing.
Yep.
How does that work? And like I think Voss coming in will be the best thing for him because Tate clearly didn't know how to use it.
I totally agree with that. I don't think we cried out about it all year about like where are our wingmen? We were putting so many players in this wing position. I think when Doc went to the wing, it looked good. I think in that Melbourne game, and then obviously, things started happening with him, and he was sort of thrown back again and whatnot. But I'm hoping that with this new coaching group, we have clearly defined roles, and I think that wing role is definitely, and that's where I have hope for Lockie because he's got the attributes that we need. But do we trust him? Do we have faith in him on the field? Do they? You got to want to get him the ball.
That's the thing, and again, like I just perplexes me how someone with that ball, with the ability to hit a target like that, and we're not talking little dinky 15, 20 meter kicks, we're talking 35, 45 meters. It just completely breaks the game open, and it perplexes me to think that he doesn't get back, he doesn't defend it. Well, okay, put something in place that's going to amplify his strengths and mitigate his weaknesses. Isn't that what good coaches do?
Yeah.
That's the coaching thing.
Correct.
That's what it's like. And Dow as well. They both have deficiencies. They both have cons to their game. But when their assets are seriously good, like Dow's breakout speed, O'Brien's kicking, that elite. Like at times they can be elite. So surely you just find the system, especially when they're both such high draft picks and we've invested so much time and energy into them. Surely you find the system that gets the best out of both of them.
That's the $1 million question and $1 million tactical light bulb that needs to go off in Vossi's head. Hopefully it does.
Fingers crossed. Young Jesse Motlop, is he playing? Is do you expect him to play?
As it round one or in the year?
I don't know. I just get the feeling where we're just in a situation where he doesn't need to play this early.
I agree with that because I
actually think always. I think if we had to rank our small forwards right now, how would you rank our small forwards? I think always would be at 1.
Yeah, I reckon always 1. Probably Honey. If you call Honey a small forward, he's more medium sized, maybe.
Yeah.
And then Durden showed a lot in the couple of games that he played. Yeah. And then Motlop's the unknown. I expect him to definitely play at some stage, but I think always showed enough. I think he showed enough maturity last year to hold that position down for a period of time because he's for someone who second year, I think, where he made his first proper debut. I know he played once in 2020, but he just had this confidence when he had the ball and his positioning. He just seems very intelligent in the way he plays. And he's a good goal kicker. He's fantastic without the ball as well. So I don't think Motlop necessarily has has to play from round 1.
Oh, look who we've got in here. I've got the new shirt on for you.
You called me dodgy texting. I was like, why am I on the screen? Hi guys, how you doing?
Good.
Step in the green room, you must always be ready to enter the arena.
Yes. Will Jesse Motlop play? Well, if we're going based on what our small forward stocks are at the moment, he could nearly be a Monty to play in round 1, couldn't he? There's no limit on him. I mean, and I think that's the type of role a young player can come straight into the side with, if that makes sense. Like Port Adelaide did it.
Yeah.
And Voss has come from Port Adelaide. Yep. So look, if he shows enough, why not?
And also, quickly to jump in, there's no real expectation on him as well. So, and because he's that player, that flash player, that he plays with flair, he can really just play off instinct and play his natural game. And there's no real you must kick 2 goals a game type of thing, because we've got Always and we've got Honey who can come in and do a reasonable job.
Yeah. I forgot about Honey. Yeah, geez, he could be another one that takes another
step. I think if you look at Voss and he, the language we've heard about being a powerful team and whatnot. I think a guy like if we're talking about the small forwards, like always, he's earned that spot right now. And I know I'm biased to Corey, but you're Voss and you're watching Corey Durden just hit his teammates the way he hits people. Like, how does he not get the first crack at it round one?
I agree. 100%.
You know? So all of a sudden, in 2 years, we've gone from what the fuck are we going to do with the small forward? And now we seem to have a couple of options now for the future.
Well, it's amazing what happens when you actually draft for spots you need rather than blokes you want, isn't it?
Yeah. Pom?
Well, I mean, I think you can't play Honey and Martin in the same forward line. I think they occupy the same role. And we know I love Josh Honey.
Yeah,
we know I love Josh Honey, but I think Josh Honey, I'd be taking Martin every day of the week at the moment because of the name factor. I think Honey's still got to work on a few things. I want to see him get that. I would say for me, Motlop is a walk-up start in this Carlton side. I think if you look at every AFL team in the ladder that is good, they have Keziah Pickett. They have an Anthony Tipper-Woody. They have a guy that's Eddie Betts, but 10 years younger, who can make magic happen. And their expectations are very simple. It's he might go 3 games without kicking a goal, but when the chips are down, look at Pickett last year, he kicked them. Look at Tipper-Woody, he got them into finals because some of them games, he kicked goals out of scraps. So I hope Voss plays Motlop round one. Round one, don't care about expectation. Just say to him, kid, it's quite simple this game. The ball's landing on that big oaf of a bloke called Harry. He won't catch it all the time. When it hits the deck, do some dancing, kick me a goal. That's all you've got to do. And I think that's where he'll thrive. And he also has Durden's pressure. So he's classy Durden. And Durden impressed me because he added that class, which I've never seen from Durden in juniors. He wasn't that type of player, but he started to have that class. And he kept saying, Eddie's like my dad. He's teaching me these things. And Durden has got that drive to learn. So if you've got 2 of them guys in that forward line like that, forget about Harry and Charlie. Your smalls win your football matches.
Yeah, this is a big PPI investigates moment. I mean, the forward pressure that we did not put on, and that's the part of the God print for premierships. And what were we like minus 36% for tackles inside 50 compared to the premiership teams? Is that right?
Well, I mean, you don't need to know the statistic. You just need to know it's complete banter. Like Carlton, if you had a God-fit footprint to win the AFL, Carlton's forward line pressure stats are so far away, we could be playing cricket. Like I would say, beautiful Hamid, Carlton's England's opener, has better defensive pressure than Carlton's forward pressure, and that guy doesn't even know what double digits are. So I mean, that's how bad it is. But to answer your question, I wanted to bring up O'Brien, and I think you guys touched on it. I think what I'm looking for this year is the VFL more. I mean, the VFL more than anything else. And that'll tell me this club has changed. The senior team will look after itself. They're a year older. They're full-grown men. They should be okay. But I don't want to see what we saw last year with O'Brien, where I saw a comment in here, O'Brien didn't stand out. And you go back and watch them VFL games, he was playing half-back flank. And then they bring him in on the wing. And then you've got Setterfield. Oh, he didn't work as an inside midfielder. Teague makes him a defensive half-back. Brings him back into the VFL. Oh, he's had 28 touches because he's on the ball. I want to see that VFL team and look at Port. Connor Rosie, he had a pathway. You heard Hinckley say when they drafted him, he's a small forward for now, but we have scope for him to go into the midfield later. Dersma, we see him as a help in the forward line, hopefully wing midfield later. Butters, we see him as an inside midfielder, but at the moment he's a pocket forward. Carlton at the moment with our juniors, it's this. Shit, we haven't played him for 4 games. Can he ruck? What's he like a defender? And that's my biggest issue. The VFL should be the breeding ground of you taking someone's job. So I want to see round 1, Honey being told this. You're Jack Martin of the VFL. I want you to kick 4 goals And I want round 2, me to ask Jack the question. You had no goals, mate. Honey's had 4. Go and play in the VFL. I want to see our juniors have that pathway. What you're drafted as, this is what you are, and this is where you'll be. But this is where you're playing. VFL, AFL, at your mum's barbecue. None of this just mishmash, because that's what Carlton are. We're mishmash. Just make it work.
Mars uses a great analogy. Square pegs, round holes.
Round holes, yeah.
It's literally imprinted in my brain.
The big fella.
But
forward.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one I want to touch on for tonight, Ari, we'll start with you, is Ches. And I feel like we're trying to keep a lid on it with him, but I think he is going to be a recruit that won't let us down year one. And we won't be sort of saying, oh, gosh, he's unfit, or gosh, I think he is the real deal. How do you see it?
Fingers crossed. I hope so. I think he's a little bit more, well, I mean, we make that statement based off the recruits we've had in the past. So if you look at Zach Williams, we recruited a halfback flanker expecting him to play in the midfield from round 1. That was never going to work. Like, as much as, I mean, hindsight is great, but when you look back at it, you think, all right, he had that one prelim against Collingwood in the midfield, and that was about it in terms of consistent.
Imagine giving someone a 6-year deal after one game.
So I think if we play Cerra in the same position that he played in at Fremantle, I can't see it going wrong, to be honest.
Yeah, this is a guy. Correct. We're not talking. This is a guy that's done it consistently, and I think Pom, you and I mentioned it in our preview. Doesn't need to come over here and be the best player in the team. Just come and be the 3rd best player in the team. Mate, the 4th/3rd best player, probably the 3rd best midfielder, and I think that is reasonable for him.
I couldn't agree more. And I think what was always interesting about Teague with Williams was there was a principle for how Williams worked well in the midfield. And if you watch what GWS did well in that one prelim final that everyone talks about, they played to his strengths. He's very good when the ball's in motion, when he's running onto the ball. That is where he's highest. You want him exiting the pack at pace, getting into space like he did Collingwood in the second quarter. Find him space, let him hit it. He'll hit targets all day. When Teague had him, he was like, oh, any chance you can be Judd? Like that was the philosophy. It was like, oh, I've got myself a Rolls Royce, but I want to go down the demo derby and trash cars. So hopefully Voss looks at Cerra and sees, what did Cerra do at Fremantle well? What Fremantle good at? Fremantle got him the ball on the outside, and he was like prime Bryce Gibbs. He just pings passes all day. He's like, all right, cool, I want to hit you up. Oh, cool, I'm going to hit you up now. That is what Carlton need to do with Cerra. If they can get him in a position where Hewitt is not going for the ball, he's going for the man to give him a bit of space. He's your relief of pressure when Carlton are getting bombarded. He's your Clayton Oliver at Melbourne. Just hits the target. Oh, shit, we're under the cosh. Here, you have the ball. Let's have a bit of a break. So hopefully that's it. Cerra, though, mark my words, will absolutely smash it. And hopefully we're in a situation where he's up Mr. Walsh's bottom, saying, you know what, I'm the main dog. I'm the big dog. This is my club, not your club. And then hopefully Cripps is like, who are these two upstarts? It's my club. I'm the big boy. And when you've got 3 of them, like in the old days of Kerr, Cousins and Judd, saying, I want to be the main event, that is when Carlton will come to the top of the tree.
Each other. Well, Paul, we touched on it earlier in the show about the breakout players and whatnot. I actually think Cerra falls into that category because his last month, 5 weeks of football for Freo was exceptional. I think someone even wrote about it just here in the comments. He averaged something like 27 touches. Yeah. How do you see his role?
Well, I think for me, like the way I look at it in the lead up to us getting him, and even now, like there's not a lot of. Is there a lot of hoo-ha around him? Like there's not.
No, which is good.
No, that's what I like. He's just gone about his business. There's no big headlines in the papers. There's no, he's on $55 million for 3 years and none of that stuff. It's just come in, do your job, do what you got to do. And look, I mean, obviously I was a little bit critical of what we were going to give up for him and who we were giving up for him and who was coming out of the side, because I obviously had a soft spot for SPS, but we've got him now. And as I said, the midfield depth is what we need to continue to build, because that's what the premiership teams have, the numbers that can go through there. And, he's obviously a class user of the ball, and he's from southern Italy. His family's Calabrese, so he's got what we call a testadura, a hard head, which will be a welcome addition to the Carlton midfield, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Yes. No, I'm excited for him, and I think you're right. I actually think this will be the first preseason in a while with no hoo-ha. Not yet from the club. I haven't really noticed.
There hasn't been a shirtless picture yet, has there? They haven't done a slow-mo of him dripping in sweat.
Oh, yeah, just wait.
Shirt off.
Wait till the first open training session on the 21st of Jan, boys, and then it'll all be coming back.
True.
It'll all be coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he hit up a 20-meter kick. Oh, that's it. We've won round one. Oh,
okay, yeah.
Hey, boys, the coach didn't have to blow his whistle. Didn't have to stop the play. Well done.
I actually, before the show started, I had a look at the Richmond website, and I had a look at their training gallery. I'm like trying to find an angle. And I'm looking through. I see whatever, Sydney Stack, Baker, and all that. I'm like, they're not much chop. And then like the fifth photo was Dusty, and I was like, fuck.
There's a great picture on Richmond just before Christmas, and everyone go and see it. He's talking to the forward group with Dusty, and just check out David Teague's talking to him, and just look at Dusty's face. It is the definition of, what the fuck is he on about? Like, everyone sat there like this intently, and Dusty's kind of like, this dickhead. Who's this guy?
I cannot wait for round one banter about David Teague.
You can just see it, like Richmond's forward line kicked the most amount of goals in like 2 years or something like that. And how Teague has changed them out of the Richmond line. And, why did Carlton get rid of him? And
I'm feeling really confident, because if he's coaching their forward line, I expect Dustin Martin to get the ball on the half forward and then boot it 70 metres backwards. I'm going to be like, he's back, Teague, he's back, get him in.
Just touching on David Teague quickly, if he was still coaching, would we have this much faith about Adam Cerra being successful?
No.
I can't imagine going into this season with Teague still. I can't do it. I would have given up. There's no way.
No.
I would have boycotted. There's no way. Mate, there's no way. Oh my God.
If David Teague was still coach, I would honestly be back in England, just so you know. I'd be back in England. I'd be like, fuck Carlton, fuck football, go Rangers.
Yeah, because I reckon if Teague was still coaching, we'd be sitting here talking about, how's Teague going to fuck Cerra up this year? What's he going to do? Is he going to play him off the half back line, or
he was play full forward? He played back pocket one game, and he had 22 touches, 6 intercepts, and absolutely turned the game on a sixpence. And I can't wait to see this $6 million back pocket.
Oh gosh! On that note, let's leave it on a high. That was lots of fun, boys. Thanks for joining. Appreciate your time. A few more previews to come out. We've got Matt Kennedy, which will be out tomorrow. And then, AFLW show Wednesday. And then the routine starts looking a little normal again for all of us with the content week to week. So enjoy your night and go Blues.
Will do, gents. All the best. Go Blues.
So that's come.